Hello and welcome. I'm Clara Hale. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're feeling calm and well tonight. Take a moment now to let the day loosen its grip. Wherever you are, however you've arrived at this moment, you are safe here, and there is nothing you need to do. The night has already begun to soften around you. Lights are lower, sounds are farther away. The world is moving more slowly, and you are allowed to move slowly too. As you settle in, let your breathing become easy, unnoticed, natural. This is a quiet space, made for rest, for gentle thoughts, for drifting without effort. In this time together, there will be no urgency, no sharp edges, only calm moments unfolding one after another. Imagine the night air just beyond an open window, cool, steady, welcoming. A street resting under lamplight, windows glowing softly, each holding its own small story. And somewhere within that calm, a sound begins to form, not yet clear, but waiting to be noticed. For now, just listen and let yourself arrive. The evening had settled in gently, the way it often does when nothing is asking for attention. Inside the apartment, everything felt familiar. The same chair near the window, the same lamp casting a warm, patient circle of light across the room. The kind of light that doesn't hurry you, that doesn't expect anything in return. Outside, the street was calm, not silent, but softened. Footsteps passed now and then, their echoes fading before they could linger. A distant engine murmured and moved on. The city, for once, seemed content to breathe quietly. The window was open just enough to let the night air drift inside, cool against the skin, carrying with it the faint scent of stone, of old buildings holding on to the day's warmth. This was the hour meant for unwinding. No plans left to make, no conversations waiting to happen, only the comfort of being exactly where you were. You leaned slightly toward the window, not searching for anything in particular, just letting your gaze rest on the opposite buildings. Rows of windows glowed softly, each one a small square of warmth suspended in the dark. Some were dark already, curtains drawn, sleep having arrived early. Others still glimmered gently, lamps on low, quiet lives continuing behind glass. There was something grounding about it, knowing that so many evenings were unfolding at once, each one simple, each one unremarkable, and somehow comforting because of that. You stayed there for a while, resting your hands on the windowsill, feeling the coolness beneath your fingertips. The room behind you felt steady and familiar, and the night ahead felt wide but unthreatening. It was in that unguarded stillness, when thoughts slow and expectations fade, that you noticed it. At first, it was barely there. A sound so soft it might have been part of the night itself. A single note, then another, floating lightly through the open air as if it had always belonged there. You didn't move right away. You didn't try to understand it. You simply listened, letting the sound reach you in its own time. And as the melody began to take shape, the evening seemed to pause, as though the night itself had leaned in to listen too. The sound carried easily through the open window, unhurried, unconcerned with being noticed. A few simple notes played with a calm steadiness, not a performance, not something meant to impress, just a melody moving at the pace of the night. You remained still, almost afraid that any movement might disturb it. The room seemed to hold its breath with you, the lamp glowing quietly, the air resting gently against your skin. The melody rose and fell, soft enough to blend with the distant hum of the street, yet clear enough to stand apart from it. It felt personal somehow, as though it had slipped free of a private moment and wandered into the open air by accident. You found yourself leaning a little closer to the window, not searching for its source, just allowing the sound to surround you. Each note lingered just long enough, then let go. There was no rush, no insistence. It reminded you of evenings long ago when time seemed wider and moments didn't need names, when simply listening was enough. The melody paused briefly, as if the person playing it had taken a breath. The silence that followed was gentle, almost tender, and when the music returned, it felt warmer, more assured. You realized then that this was coming from nearby, from one of the glowing windows across the narrow street, not far at all. The closeness of it made the moment feel intimate, though nothing had been shared directly. Two separate spaces, connected only by air and sound. You didn't wave, you didn't call out, you didn't even look for movement in the other window. You simply stayed where you were, listening, letting the melody settle into you like a familiar thought you didn't need to follow. The night seemed to soften further, as if it approved of this quiet exchange. Street lights hummed faintly, shadows rested where they fell, and somewhere just beyond the glass, the music continued, threading gently through the dark, unaware, or perhaps quietly aware, that it had found someone willing to listen. The melody did not end that night with any sense of finality. It simply eased to a stop, as though it had said all it needed to say. You remained by the window a while longer, listening to the space it left behind. The night filled itself back in, soft traffic far away, a faint breeze brushing past the buildings, the low hum of a city settling deeper into rest. When you finally stepped back from the window, the room welcomed you easily. Nothing had changed, and yet something had. The next evening arrived quietly, much like the one before. Lights dimmed, sounds softened. The day released you without resistance. And again, you found yourself near the window, not because you planned to be, but because it felt natural. At first, there was only silence, the familiar kind, the comforting kind. Then, a note, soft, tentative, almost shy. It drifted through the open air, finding you as if it already knew the way. You smiled without meaning to, the expression small and private. There was no surprise this time, only recognition. The melody unfolded slowly, familiar but not repeated exactly. Small changes appeared, a pause held a little longer, a note allowed to stretch and soften before letting go. You listened the way one listens to rain, without expectation, without needing it to be anything more than what it was. Night after night, the pattern continued. Some evenings the melody came early, other nights it waited, arriving only when the street had grown nearly still. You never marked the time, you never named the routine. It simply became part of the night, like the glow of the lamps or the coolness of the air. You began to sense the person behind the music, not in details, but in feeling. Patient, unhurried, someone who played not to be heard, but because the night made space for it. And perhaps, just perhaps, they had begun to sense you too. Not as a face or a figure, but as a presence, someone listening, someone there. 2 windows across a quiet street, 2 separate evenings unfolding side by side, bound together by a melody that asked for nothing and offered only calm. One evening, the melody lingered in a different way. It began as it always did, soft, steady, unannounced, but after a few familiar phrases, it shifted. A note repeated itself, then changed slightly, as though it were waiting. You noticed the pause that followed, not an ending, more like a question left open in the air. Without thinking too much about it, you moved closer to the window again, resting your hands against the sill, letting the night breeze brush past your wrists. The pause stretched gently, then the melody returned, answering itself in a quieter tone, as if acknowledging the space between you. There was something different now, not louder, not more insistent, just aware. Over the next few nights, small patterns began to form. A familiar phrase would drift across the street and later return with a subtle variation, a gentle rise where there had once been a fall, a slower ending, a longer breath. It felt like listening to someone think out loud, or perhaps like being invited into the quiet process of someone else's evening. You didn't imagine words, you didn't imagine intentions, only a shared rhythm. Sometimes the melody would soften if the street grew noisier. Other times it would wait, patiently, until the night settled again. On your side of the window, you listened without moving, without shifting the moment into something heavier than it needed to be. It was enough to be present. The air between the buildings felt charged, but not with excitement, with familiarity, with ease. Music moved outward from one window, was held briefly by the night, and then arrived at yours, unchanged by distance, gentle in its intention. There were evenings when the melody seemed to slow, almost matching the rhythm of your breathing, long notes stretching into stillness, short phrases dissolving into quiet. And in those moments, it felt less like listening and more like sharing silence together, the kind that doesn't feel empty. 2 unseen figures, each wrapped in their own soft light, letting the night carry something simple between them. It happened without ceremony. One night, as the melody drifted to a gentle close, you found yourself still at the window, the air cool and steady, the street below nearly empty. Across the way, one window remained lit. You hadn't meant to look for movement, but something shifted there, a quiet presence stepping closer to the glass. For a moment, you both seemed to pause at the same time. The distance between the buildings felt small then, not something to be crossed, just something that existed. You could see only an outline at first, soft edges, a figure framed by lamplight, nothing sharp or defined. Then the light adjusted slightly and the shape became clearer, not in detail, but in intention. They were standing where the music had been coming from. No words passed between you. There was no need to decide anything, no expectations forming. Just two people, aware of one another in the simplest way. A small movement followed, a hand lifted, not rushed, not certain, and rested briefly against the glass. You answered in your own quiet way. A nod, a gentle lift of your fingers. It wasn't a greeting meant to begin something, it was an acknowledgement of what already was. The moment lingered, unpressured, uninterrupted. Then, naturally, they stepped back. The light dimmed slightly. The window remained open, but the music did not return. And that felt right. The street held the silence carefully, as though protecting it. Street lamps continued their soft glow. The night air moved easily between the buildings. You stayed there a while longer, not searching for another sign, not wishing the moment into something else. It was enough to have seen, to have been seen. And when you finally turned back into the room, the quiet followed you in, settling gently, as if it belonged there too. After that night, the evening seemed to slow even further. Nothing outward had changed. The street remained the same. The windows still glowed and dimmed in their own time. The air moved gently, as it always had. And yet, there was a new softness to it all. Some nights the melody returned, quieter now, unhurried, as though it no longer needed to announce itself. Other nights, there was only silence, but not the empty kind. You would stand by the window, hands resting comfortably, listening to the quiet that stretched between the buildings, and you could sense them there, across the way, sharing the same stillness. It felt companionable, like sitting beside someone without speaking, both of you content to let the moment remain untouched. When the music did appear, it moved more slowly, notes held longer, pauses allowed to deepen. Sometimes the melody would fade halfway through, leaving the night to complete it. Sometimes it would circle back on itself, repeating a gentle phrase until it dissolved into air. You noticed your breathing matching its pace, slow, even, unconcerned. The distance between you seemed less like space and more like a quiet agreement, an understanding that closeness didn't need to be physical to be felt. Light from the opposite window spilled softly onto the street, meeting the glow from yours somewhere in between. Not touching, just overlapping enough to feel shared. There was comfort in knowing that another presence existed so nearby, moving through the night with the same patience, the same calm attention. No plans formed, no expectations followed, only the steady awareness that you were not alone in the quiet, and that the quiet itself was something you now held together. As the nights continued, the details began to blur in a gentle way. The exact shape of the window across the street mattered less. The melody, when it came, felt more like a memory than a sound arriving for the first time. You would find yourself at the window without remembering when you'd moved there. The room behind you warm and quiet, the night ahead steady and familiar. Sometimes there were notes, sometimes there were none. Both felt the same. The street seemed to breathe slowly now, its rhythm calm and predictable. Light and shadow softened their edges, blending together without urgency. You noticed how the air felt on your skin, cool then neutral, as if adjusting to you. You noticed the way your thoughts drifted without asking to be followed. The melody repeated itself in your mind, not exactly as it had been played, but as it had been felt. A rise, a pause, a quiet settling. And when it returned from across the way, it felt less like something being shared and more like something already known. The windows remained open, not wide, just enough. Enough for air, enough for sound, enough for the sense of someone else moving gently through the same hours. You no longer waited for the music, you simply allowed the night to be what it was. Light glowing, air drifting, a familiar presence nearby. Each moment folding softly into the next, without edges, without direction, until the story itself seemed to slow its pace, becoming less about what happened and more about how it felt to remain. The melody no longer needs to arrive. It rests now, somewhere gentle, like a remembered warmth that doesn't fade when the light dims. The windows across the street remain where they are, quiet, steady, holding their soft glow or their darkness without asking to be noticed. The night continues its slow movement, carrying air between buildings, between moments, between thoughts that no longer need shape. You don't need to listen closely anymore. The quiet has already settled in. It has found its place around you and within you. Breathing comes easily, naturally. Each breath unremarkable and therefore perfect. The street below rests. The lights remain patient. The shared stillness lingers, not as an ending, but as something ongoing. Nothing needs to be remembered. Nothing needs to be held. The night knows how to continue on its own, and you are free to drift with it, softly, slowly, without effort. The melody fades into silence, the silence into rest, and rest into sleep.